Hello, Sofa Squad, and welcome back to the damn sofa. That's a damn sofa. And my damn sassy sidekick is actually not here today, or this evening, I should say. I'm filming this kind of late at night, so he is in the bed sleeping. But my damn name is Paul, by the way, if you don't already know. Now, y'all, look, today, y'all, it's been a hot minute, and I have not forgotten that we had one more edition or installment, whatever you want to call, of this you-know-what show. Y'all, today we're polishing off this absolute dribble that we have somehow found ourselves in, right? So, if you've been following it, then you already know we have been reading and going over Chad Daybell's book, One Foot in the Grave. And we are at chapter 10, the final chapter, if you will. So we're going to review it. I did look ahead and read. I just wanted to see it's not that long. I do apologize for how long it took me. I'm not going to lie, y'all. I was like enjoying this break from this. Y'all, this was, first of all, I'll say this. This was enlightening because it definitely showed us in one sense how utterly insane this man was from way back when, right? So psychologically, it was very fascinating in that context. Also, it's very disgusting at the same time because then it also, there's like just a lot of stuff that kind of comes up as I'm reading this where I'm just like, ugh, you know, it just makes it that much more heartbreaking. And on that note, before we even get started, drop some hearts and show some love to all the victims of these monsters. And these monsters are specifically Lori and Chad, okay? This just really brings it home. So that's what we're doing today. We are finishing up this dribble, and that's it. So again, show some love down in the comments, drop some hearts, and also thank you to everybody who makes the channel possible. It would not be here without you. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, from the bottom of Roscoe's heart, who is sleeping in the bed, and as well as the bottom of the sofa's heart. So there's that. If you're new to this, I highly suggest starting back at chapter 1 or part 1, however it goes, and just if you want to hear the whole thing, I do stop and make commentary along the way. This is not a specific read through, like a just start to finish read through. I use Chad Daybell voice at times. I make commentary. It's hard to get a couple of lines into this without saying something about it, okay, because it just beckons for it, right? I mean, this guy should never see the light of day, and neither should Lori either, right? This is a given, right? So that's what you're getting yourself into. If you're still interested, then stick around, and if you're not, then go ahead and click the next damn video, okay? So it's chapter 10, and it's called, can you see it? Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. It's called A Final Few Tips. So here we go. This chapter is devoted to those people who have to make some tough decisions concerning a relative's burial. These choices usually come after an unexpected death in the family, when everything is hectic and there is only a short time to make major decisions. Hopefully these hints will stick in your mind if you have to handle such a crisis. Okay, so the next little thing right here is don't buy expensive flowers. Now, gee, my God, this man's obsession with flowers throughout this, and we have, okay, now, sidebar. One thing that has been interesting, because if you have been following me for this, you know that I don't believe anything this guy says, right? You know, if you've been following me and all this, that I'll come to y'all and be like, okay, I don't believe anything that Chad says, and so y'all will be like, no, actually, like, I know this because of blank, you know what I'm saying? So, like, for example, him talking about things being stolen, or the flowers being stolen, and I've had several people, no, actually, it's a thing, you know, this just happened, and I'm like, oh my God. So it's just funny that he starts off with the expensive flowers things, like this man is obsessed with flowers in the graveyard, right? It's like things that go hand in hand, right? And he is like obsessed, impressed about it this whole damn book. Anyways, let's go. Okay, so don't buy expensive flowers. Many times we had funerals that required 2 large mortuary vans to bring all of the flower arrangements people had purchased to honor the deceased. But once the mourners were gone, all I could do with the flowers was try to arrange them on the grave. Within a week, every last blossom was dead, and I threw them in a dumpster. Can they not be mulched? And I mean, I'm just, again, help me out here. I don't know these things. And I'm being petty, okay, because this is my bias, because I don't like this guy, right? This might be the easiest thing to throw them away. I don't know. So anyways, when you multiply 50 flower arrangements by a very conservative $40 each, that's at least $2,000 worth of flowers rotting away in the garbage by the end of the week. What a waste of money. Obviously, every funeral needs a few flowers, but money is often a family's biggest concern at such times. Placing a $20 bill in the hand of a grieving widow will mean much more and be more valuable than a dying blossom. Of course, many families include at the end of the obituary, in lieu of flowers, please donate to the Diabetes Foundation or something like that. I've often wondered how many people actually do that, or if they just call the florist. Okay, so here's my thing, and I get what he's saying by that because we've all seen this, right? And I've noticed that as times progress from, like, say, when I was younger, this has become a more popular thing of in lieu of, right? Okay, so here's my thing when it comes to something like this. If somebody wants to put if somebody wants to put flowers on a grave, whether they can afford it or not, and that's how they're going to do that situation, that is their damn business. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's their way to grieve. That is their business. It's up to them and whoever the person might be, right? You know what I'm saying? So, and what I mean by that is, if this is the family and they've said, yep, bring flowers, and somebody wants to use their last $20 to put flowers in there, okay, you know what I'm saying? I get from a perspective of somebody who works in the business where it can look like a waste of money, right? Being like, oh my God, these flowers, this money could go to this or whatever. But this isn't like, you're not burying your grandfather every day of the week, right? You know what I'm saying? This is a once in, these are like irreplaceable family members. So that's one thing with Chad that I find so interesting. And while I get that when you're in this business, it becomes just that, a business, but he's so pressed about some basic things, and I'm like, just allow somebody to mourn in their own right. Now, mind you, I want to expect him to do that, right? Because, look who we're dealing with. But on the same note, it's like, well, let people mourn the way they want to mourn. If they want to spend $2,000 on flowers and throw them in the dumpster, let them do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, let them do it. And if they want to put the thing in lieu of flowers instead, let them do it. Like, this is their choice, right? Because it's just such a personal thing. So, anyways. And the next thing is it just goes hand in hand. Okay, the next little subtitle is called A Coffin is a Coffin. Can't roll my damn eyes hard enough. Don't overspend on funeral hardware. A $500 coffin will work just as well as a $5,000 one. I want to put money on. I want to keep up with this damn case until he's 6 feet under. Guarantee you, unless he goes out in a damn, whatever kind of thing they bury you in the prison, he would have a $5,000 casket if he could. I'm just saying. Anyways, here's a message to my family. Oh, we're going to hear from the damn horse's mouth. Here's a message to my family. When it's my time to go, I want a very economical funeral. The simplest coffin will do, a prison coffin. A good mortician will assure you that your departed loved one deserves the very best. Even if your relative died in the electric chair, oh my God, it's like he made his own future. Even if your relative died in the electric chair, the mortician is just doing his job, and if it takes a strong person to tell a mortician that you don't want the very best. But it's not like you're choosing between a 1968 Volkswagen bus and a brand new Ferrari. I've yet to see anyone driving around town in a coffin. Y'all, there's the first one. There it goes. Yeah, if you follow me and you watch me read this, my body starts to reject the book and all that, and I begin yawning. Yeah, I'm on page 2, and it's starting. Luckily, it's not that much we have to go, so it's not like we're going to have to stop. I've yet to see anyone driving around town in a coffin. Once the dirt is piled on, no one will remember what you were packed away in. The same goes for your burial vault. Oh my God, the damn vault. A less expensive vault usually works just as well as the most costly one. Heck, you're dead. Who cares? Yes, some vaults look fancier, but the only real difference between a $300 vault and one that sells for $1,500 is usually only 2 coats of spray paint and a plastic liner. That's some expensive paint. Yeah. Again, here it goes. The big selling point of the plastic liner is it will keep any moisture away from your loved one. The following story might convince you otherwise. Okay, then it's the next little thing here. Let me get a sip of this just to kind of keep myself going. This is another reason why I could not continue. If this book was longer, I'd be like, I can't, because my body is now rejecting it like one page in. Right? I'm just like, my spirit is shunning the book. Okay. So the next thing is called Don't Drink the Water. I shudder to think what we're about to read. Okay. We once received a burial order to move a woman's body to the other end of the cemetery. She had only been in the ground for 10 months, so we figured it would be an easy job. We dug down and got the chains around the vault, but I couldn't budget when I pulled back on the backhoe lever. We were perplexed because the backhoe usually had no trouble lifting a vault out of the ground. I fought it for a while and finally got one of the vault out of... We fought it... Hold on. Please hold. We were perplexed, because the backhoe usually had no trouble lifting a vault out of the ground, period. I fought it for a while and finally got one end of the vault out of the hole, period. The poor woman was now standing on her head, but it was my only option. Okay, that was like just me having to break it down for myself. I turned off the backhoe and my crew joined me at the side of the vault. That woman must have weighed 400 pounds, one of the crew members said. I shook my head because I had known the deceased, and she had been a small, thin woman. The vault must be full of water, I said. The crew argued with me because they noticed it was a sealed vault of the spray-painted 1500 variety. Finally, I grabbed a pick from the shed, then carefully broke off the bottom corner of the vault until I could see the plastic liner. Watch this, I said. I just feel like he talks like that with everything, right? Then I poked the end of the pick through the plastic and instantly a stream of gray water poured out. It took nearly 3 minutes to drain the vault. After that, we had no trouble lifting the rest of the vault out of the hole. In retrospect, her protective liner worked really well, didn't it? I mean, he just has this kind of, I told you so. Okay, so the next thing is, sir, would you like fries with that? That was a real good one. Okay. One of the worst cases of going overboard I've ever seen was when the owner of a large string of fast food restaurants passed away. When the vault company brought his vault to the cemetery on the morning of the funeral, here it goes. I had to shield my eyes because it was so shiny, and the sun was glinting off of it. I asked the vault guy, what is this thing made out of? He laughed and said, I think it is titanium. They ordered it from out of state. He said it cost the family $6,000 plus an extra $1,000 fee because they wanted it placed on a special device above the grave so the mourners could see it. So rather than being in the ground, the vault was actually hovering a foot above the hole. During the graveside service... Oh, hold on, please hold. Sorry. Oh my gosh. I apologize. I mean, my goodness. During the graveside service, the coffin, a $4,000 matching titanium model, was then held above the vault by another fancy device. It was quite the show. After the graveside service ended, we put that vault down in the hole and literally buried $10,000 worth of metal. I hope it keeps the water out. I mean, okay. Avoid Saturday funerals is the next one. Often when a family is planning a funeral, they select Saturday so that everyone can be there. That's wise thinking, but here's a little secret. Psst. If you've planned the funeral on a weekday, even more people will be there. Why? Because the mourners get to miss work and usually get paid for it. On a Saturday, some of the extended family might find something better to do, but I'll bet they won't miss the weekday funeral. That might be the damn truth right there, y'all. Now this also goes for minor That also goes for minor holidays. I know most government workers get holidays like President's Day. Sorry, y'all, this is bad. I mean, you're probably, if you're watching this is ASMR at this point. I'm putting y'all to sleep. I apologize. That also goes for minor holidays. I know most government workers get holidays like President's Day and Columbus Day off. And the last thing they want to do on their day off is attend an uncle's funeral. Now instead, schedule the funeral for Tuesday. This allows those hard-working government employees to take a much-deserved 4-day weekend. Along those lines, families often choose to hold a funeral in the afternoon so people can work half a day before leaving and to attend the funeral. On the surface, that is good thinking, but in reality, the relatives will be wishing you had held it at 10 a.m. By scheduling the funeral earlier in the day, your relatives likely won't even go to work. The funeral will be finished by early afternoon. Everyone can still get in a round of golf or a trip to the water park before sunset. Their bosses won't be expecting them back, and they'll still get paid for a bereavement day. Another reason for holding the funeral on a weekday is that most cemeteries usually charge an extra fee for weekend or holiday burials. Hey, I'm just calling it like I see it. Besides, I like to have my Saturdays and minor holidays off too. That's what it was about. Okay, that's what he was getting to. He was trying to put the word out because he was selling this book to all these like local little, pampered chef parties and stuff. He was trying to plant the idea of, look, don't be rolling up in here on Saturday. Don't be rolling up in here on damn President's Day. I'm kicking my feet up on that day and I ain't doing squat. Okay. Now the next section is called A Dozen is More Than Enough. When it comes to buying burial lots, please don't feel like you have to provide for the next generation. It's nice to have parents and siblings plan for the future by purchasing plots near each other, but don't go wild with the idea. I'll never forget one man who wanted to buy enough spots to provide for even his great-grandchildren. He wavered back and forth on how many burial plots to buy. He first wanted to buy 100, but he finally settled on a mere 48. I mean, my God, isn't that like the whole damn cemetery? Yes, 48. The poor guy penny pinched for 25 years to pay for all of them, and then he died the month after they were paid off. Guess how many of those 48 plots he had been used so far? One, his own. I doubt his family will ever appreciate his generosity. Going out in style. One day, a monstrous Cadillac stopped in front of my office. The window rolled down, and the driver motioned for me to come speak with him. He was a large man with diamond rings on nearly every finger. He oozed with wealth. He introduced himself, and I recognized his name. He had grown up in our small little town, but he'd moved to Las Vegas as a young man and made millions of dollars, operating several casinos there. He had more money than I could ever spend. Anyways, he started asking about the size of a typical burial plot. As I told him, he grabbed a pen and paper and scribbled some numbers. Then he said, 32 plots ought to do it. Have you got that many empty spots together? Maybe 8 plots across and 4 deep. We have a few open areas like that, I said. That's pretty generous of you. I'm sure your family will appreciate it. He glared at me and then snorted. It's not for those idiots. It's for me and my baby. I was confused until he tenderly patted the steering wheel of his Cadillac. Just me and my baby. All I ask is you put me behind the wheel and lower me into the ground. I stammered for a second before regaining my composure. Well, you'd probably have to rent a special crane, and we'd have to charge you quite a bit more to dig a hole that large. He waved his hand. No problem. I then joked it might just be easy to just build a crypt for you in the car. He got a gleam in his eye, and I wish I had never said anything. Such a crypt would attract way too much attention in our small town. The man hadn't made his final decision, but someday soon the cemetery crew will likely put the man and his car in the ground, where they will spend eternity together. Thanks for visiting. That brings us to the end of the tour. I hope you had an enjoyable, informative visit. All I ask is that you be careful out there in the real world. We don't want you coming back here soon than expected. I love the fact that the very last damn sentence has a grammar mistake in it. It says, we don't want you coming back here soon than expected. I mean, that polishes the book off, right? And I mean, that little story that he finished it off on, I'm like, really? Okay, so, no, wait, please, I'll hear it. About the author. Now, we do get to rate it. What do y'all think we should rate this at? 5 stars? Oh, I'm just joking. You already know we're going for 1. Hell, it doesn't even get that, but we have to give it 1 to do that. I mean, obviously, right? Anyways, about the author. In addition to working for more than a decade as a cemetery sexton, Chad Daybell has worked in the publishing business for the past 2 decades and has written nearly 30 books. He is currently the president of Spring Creek Book Company. Visit springcreekbooks.com to see the company's lineup of titles. Learn about Chad at his personal website, cdaybell.com. So that's it, y'all. Final thoughts? You already know. It's, I mean, come on. Again, the last sentence with the grammar misspelled, with the misspelled, not misspelled. How do you say that? Because it's not a misspelled word, but it's like grammar, right? Is that right? I mean, again, y'all, this guy has some serious issues, right? I mean, the level of narcissism, and again, I'm not a psychologist, so I don't know. I call it narcissism because, I mean, just from what we've learned in this book, I mean, this guy literally is like, equates himself to like the president of the United States, right? And like the self-importance that we see in this book of him being the cemetery sexton is just astounding to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could see somebody who has been in this industry, like, having something worthwhile to say, right? Because obviously there might be some things that we never really thought of, but the level of, like, self-importance that came through in this, like, it didn't need to be the song, right? This is literally like a bullet point list, right? Like, hey, things to think of, you know what I'm saying? And then these stories that he comes up with, and then the plagiarizing of stories, all this kind of stuff. Can you hear Roscoe's awake now? So another thing that it makes me really sit here and think is like, okay, if these are the things that this guy is publicly coming out here with, you know, obviously we know he's done these teachings, this kind of thing. I've not read any of his other books. God help me, I don't think I can bring myself to do it. I mean, just imagine like what he's like, what he was like at home, right? Like with his own kids, or like with people in his inner circles. Because remember, look at how these people viewed him as like this, like, end all be all person that like had this, you know, insight into all this stuff. I mean, he lapped that up. Look at what he was doing just as the guy who dug the graves up. I mean, come on, right? I mean, it baffles me. So can you imagine how toxic he was when people were legit looking at him like he held like the key to life, okay? Like, I mean, y'all, this is like, I can see how this guy was so sick as to think of like end of times, and I have all the answers, and I'm worthy enough to deem people, you know, on this scale, and zombie or not zombie, and make this up and make that up and all this kind of stuff, and play God and all this absolute nonsense, complete nonsense that they were involved in. Because he was already doing it, you know, like I said, just doing this. So, it just makes, I mean, I just feel bad for the daily torments that he probably put innocent people, obviously the ones who are no longer with us, through, right? All at the under the guise of, you know, his savior complex, his God complex, all this stuff. So, that being said, and God only knows, like, the little things that nobody will ever know except for him that he probably did. Like, he strikes me as this kind of person that would get pleasure out of, like, it's like, say, I'm making this up, right? But, like, say he was, like, and I don't know exactly how it works, but, like, say he's burying someone and he knows that he switched the bodies at the grave. You know what I'm saying? Like something sinister like that. Like he knows he buried Mary where Bill was supposed to go. You know what I mean? At the local grave that he worked at. And he gets pleasure out of that when he sees them come visit their family plot. You know what I mean? Like he's that kind of person to me, right? Because we already saw how much pleasure he got out of like telling people no to things and like this kind of weird stuff. So anyways, probably gonna trade my damn phone in after this one, y'all. I don't think Sage will work. I really don't. I feel it's possessed. I feel like, I'm shocked it hasn't melted down, to be honest. I haven't yawned either since I stopped. I swear to God, that is the devil talk. I mean, I swear to God, it is. It's just, it's so weird, right? How it's like my body, like I say, my body just like spiritually rejects the book. So anyways, that's it. Thank you for hanging in with me while we read through this. You know, I mean, again, it was an interesting glimpse into his twisted mind, just to kind of get a snapshot of that thought process. So please show some love to the victims in the comment section, for God's sakes. Let's cross our fingers for justice. Let's cross our fingers that they never see the light of day. This is just the kind of stuff that when we go through this and we see what makes people tick like this, and we know obviously what they did, allegedly, they don't need to ever walk free. Ever. You know what I mean? And I pray that they don't. I mean, these are just vile human beings here, right? Lori and Chad and the other, you know, Alex, these people who all were involved in this stuff and taking the lives of all these innocent people. So anyways, I keep going on. So thank you very much for making this sofa possible. Thank you for hanging in here. Let me know what you think. Let me know your final thoughts on the books. We are going to do, so now that we finished it, we'll do a live chat on it at some point here in the near future. And just discuss it, see what everybody thinks or whatever. So just hang tight, be on the lookout for it below. And I guess until we meet around this damn sofa and we get Roscoe back out of the bed and on the sofa, I'll see you all soon.